In today's video, we're going to learn how to take this and transform it into this fun and festive wreath. Hi there, friends. Today we are working on what is going to be an adorable gingerbread wreath. I have a sister-in-law and brother-in-law that own a bakery, and I'm doing this for them as a surprise. I picked up a lot of really cute ornaments last year at like 90% off. Look at the little measuring spoons even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut off all of my tags. I am going to leave the ribbons for now just in case I end up using them to tie them into the wreath, but I might even end up cutting those off. But I'm just going to prep. I also got a pack of these adorable everything bagels because my brother-in-law makes yummy bagels. And I'm going to put a few of these. There's 3. I'm going to put 3 in the wreath. So I'm going to stop the video here, prep all of my pieces, and then we are going to talk how to get started when you're working with a faux evergreen base, some of the things that I like to do to make it look a little bit more realistic. We'll be back soon. All right, so we are ready to get started on our base. Now this process I use for every single winter wreath. Doesn't matter what your final embellishments are, but you want to add interest and you want to add some depth to this rather dull and boring wreath. Okay, so what I've done is I have gone ahead and I've cut. Notice it's a different texture, it's a different tone of color. It's even got a little bit of glitter in it. I've cut some of these. I also have some of these. I have some of these. Again, they're all different tones, all different colors, all different textures. I want this piece to have almost like a vintage feel to it. So I've got, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it's this real pretty icy, glittery, holly type of stem that I'm going to add in. I love the red tones. I have a little bit of cedar. This is a wonderful way for you to use up your extra pieces that you might have left over from other projects that you've started. That's why don't be afraid to buy a little bit more, because you can always end up incorporating into other pieces. Some more cedar. And then, believe it or not, I am going to add in some cypress leaves. Okay, again, it's a different color green. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but the shape of the leaf. And then because of the light green that's in the gingerbread pieces, I think I'm actually going to use some of this. This is actually, I think it was a summer or spring. I got it at Joann's. It was just a bush, but this is going to just pop. And again, it's a different texture, so I really like that. I'm also thinking I might incorporate some boxwood. And I don't know if I'm going to, but I have here some snowy branches that if I want to cut these and put these in here or there, I might do that. But I might wait on the snowy branches closer to the end once I get my ribbons and my gingerbread and all the other pieces placed. So like I said, I've gone ahead and I've cut some of my branches. And what I do is, let me find one here. You can do it 2 different ways. You can glue them right into place, or like I do a lot of times, I start to place them. See if I like them now. If you notice, this one goes on the outside. So I'm going to put one here going to the inside. All right. And now my next one, I'm going to go to, and since it's up here, I'm going to choose a little bit longer. I'm going to go to the outside. And now my next one over here is going to go to the inside. And one thing you want to try to remember as well is you want to try to keep the movement of the wreath going in a clockwise direction. It's just more pleasing for your eye to look at in that direction. Okay, and then I'm going to put another one down here. Now, if you wanted to, I have two here. You could cut this apart if you wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to kind of separate it like this and just put the one stem in. Okay, so we have one going up. Now, there's two different ways that you can secure this. One is to simply take one of these ends and twist it around, almost just like a pipe cleaner. That's what's great about these wreaths. This one in particular that I got on clearance is really nice. It's actually pretty full for an evergreen wreath. You don't always get that. Now, to you right now, this might look funny because it's sticking out in an awkward direction, but just leave it. We can always play with it after. We want some pieces coming out of the wreath to make it, just make it more alive, so it actually looks like it's alive. Okay, and then I've got one more that I'm going to put. This one's going out, so I'm going to put this one going in. All right, now I'm going to go ahead, stop the video, and I'm going to secure all of these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and secured the first bunch of greenery. One thing that I did want to say that I would give as a tip is I wrapped it around the evergreen, you know, like I said, using it almost as a pipe cleaner. Then I applied some glue, and then I pulled another branch down and wrapped it around so that it's actually encased in the glue. Now I'm going to go ahead. Don't be afraid, you know, it doesn't matter what you put in. It's going to look all the more natural, the more variety that you use. No one's going to come up and stare at it and count how many branches of each you have. And again, it's just going to blend very, very nicely. So like I will probably put that particular piece in there. And then I have another one that I might put. And the great thing about this is it's all bendable. So I would probably put that one shooting off down there so that we have a nice diagonal. And then I have a couple of these, which are a little different. So I would probably put one up here, keeping in mind still with that movement. And then I'll probably put another one down in here on the outside going out. Okay, so you don't have, if you want to have even number, that's fine, but you don't have to have even number. And then I'm going to go ahead and add, I love these different textures. I'm going to add a couple of these. I like to fill up the center of this, and I'm not sure if I'm going to put a sign there yet or what I'm going to do. But see, I like that. Again, it makes it look a little bit more natural. And I would probably put one of these down in here. But you see how already it's coming together and it's filling out? So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the whole wreath, continuing to just add in different pieces that I have, and then we'll catch up on next steps. So I've gone ahead and I've added, as you can see, lots of different texture, lots of different tones of green, and I decided that I wanted to kind of show you the process that I typically use with the ficus leaves. I have some over here that I've woven in, and I typically would take a stem about this long. I put a pick on it, but you don't have to do that. I'm going to put some glue on the end first. And then I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to stick it in, twist some greens around it, and then I'm actually going to weave this in amongst the other greens. And the reason why, again, I do this is just to make it look more natural. I don't want to have a huge chunk of ficus leaves in one area. I want to try to spread it out as much as possible. And then also, as I add my embellishments, I'm going to go ahead and, but you see, I hope the camera's picking that up, how much just interest, just adding these leaves add to a piece. And they're not real expensive. I think they're about $1.50, $2 at Hobby Lobby, and when they're 50% off, they're very reasonable. And again, I use them in most of all of my pieces. So I have my stem here. I probably would cut it here. And since I have some here and here, I'm going to try to go for down here, and I'm going to get it caught in the evergreen, loop it around, and I'm going to come back in with my glue gun like I talked about earlier. And I'm going to secure that into place. Let that just cool a little bit. And then I'm going to feed it down and in and through. I would take a piece like that. And then I have some here that I'm going to tuck in. And I'm going to pull these down under, probably even under the cedar. Because again, they're a nice dark contrast. Now at this point, I think I'm going to be putting a sign in this piece. So I probably am going to leave the leaves on the top there and have the sign come somewhere in here. So I want a couple more bunches. So I probably will get 2 more out of this. And I'm cutting this all the way down right before that next stem. And since this one's coming down, this is what I typically do. I put it in first to kind of get an idea of where I want it. And there are times when I might, if I'm going to put a sign in, sometimes I even wait. That was another thing that I wanted to tell you. Some of the things, there's cedar that I put in here. I always pull aside a few pieces and keep them for the end, and you'll see why, because I actually put them in my bow. So for now, I think I'm going to just another ficus stem, maybe one more over here, just one group, one small stem. I'm going to get it caught in there, and I'm going to put some glue on it. Cover that glue up with another stem, so we've got it caught in there. And now we have that ficus coming out the bottom. Okay, now if you notice I haven't added any of this yet, I'm going to go ahead and wait. Same with this other bright green color that I talked about. I'm going to wait until I start to get my pieces in when I add in this pop of color. So at this point, the next thing is I'm going to create a bow and decide where I want to put that. I'm thinking over in this area is where I want the bow, but I'm going to gather all of my pieces that I have for this particular project, lay them out, and kind of show you my train of thought as I work through this piece. I decided I want to do a sign on their piece, so I have printed out their logo. And I'm taking a very stiff piece of cardboard because I know that this is going to be for indoors, so I'm not really too worried about the sign getting wet. And I'm going to Mod Podge. I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to Mod Podge it onto the cardboard and then seal that in. So that's just one step of something that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be putting the sign down in here into the wreath. So that's just one step of my project. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the bow, like I had mentioned. I actually got this on a swag that I picked up last year on clearance, and I had taken this bow off because I used the swag with different color scheme. But I decided that I'm going to incorporate this plaid. I just really love it with the bright colors. I'm also going to put this red and white. It has like a fuzzy edge, which is going to be fun. And then I'm going to incorporate this blue because, again, there are those color tones in the gingerbread. So this has 4 loops, And I want to have a pretty good tail. My thought here is that it probably, the bow will go in somewhere here, and then I'd like to have one little poof of a tail right there, one loop. So I actually want it a little bit longer. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to pinch it, and I'm going to make a loop. What is that, maybe 3 inches, 4 inches long? I want to hold it up. Whoops. I want to hold it up to this and make sure that it's a good amount, which I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to twist my ribbon so that the right side is facing me, and I'm going to make another loop, and I'm pinching just between my thumb and my finger. I'm pinching, and you can check sizes by holding it up. Okay, now I want one more loop. Again, pinching, gathering it all, pinching it in one hand. Now, if you have trouble with this, say that you have arthritis in your hands, or you just don't feel that you're that flexible, you can use a clothespin, and you can simply just pinch it while you make the other loops. Now behind here, I'm twisting it, right side is facing me, and I'm making one more loop. So I have my 4 loops right here. And I'm going to take this plaid bow, and I am just going to push it right on top of my other bow and add it in. So this is what we have so far. Okay? Now at this point, if you wanted to, and I'm going to show you this, you could use a pipe cleaner, you could use wire. I have a piece of wire that I've cut, but you could very easily do a pipe cleaner as well. And you're just going to twist all of this. I'm going to add one more color, but just for now, so that I can keep these together, I'm twisting it just to lock those loops in place. Okay? So I have my 4 loops here. And I'm not worrying about the tails right now. I'm just working on the bow. All right, and they don't have to be fluffed perfect at this point. I'm just simply just getting started with our bow. Okay, and here's our 2 tails. Okay, now I want to add in that blue color. I do have a bow all made that I used in another project and I ended up pulling off. I could just stick that in the center, and this is a great way again to use up what you already have made. I want to see how that looks, and I'm going to add in other loops, so this isn't going to be the only time that we see this red and blue. I'm going to add that also in. Oh, I do like that. I like that a lot. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to secure this whole bow together. Just taking my wire, running it through, and I'm going to twist it off in the back. Looking for my other piece of wire. It's caught in this bow. And I'm just going to twist it. You want to make sure that it's twisted nice and tight. A lot of times when I do a bow, I actually fold it up and scrunch it and push it really, really tight. So this is what we have so far for our bow, okay? And we'll worry, like I said, we'll worry about fluffing and adding in extra loops after. But this is a great way. If you buy something that has a bow on it that you don't use at that particular time, like I said before, hang on to it because you never know. You might be able to add it into a piece later on. Okay, so I think at this point, I think I'm going to cut these two tails. Grab my scissors and cut these two tails the same length. Just to get the spool out of the way. I also have this that's really cool. It's a red and white. It's sheer and it's almost, it reminds me of candy cane, and it would mimic the measuring spoon, so I might end up using that. I'm just not quite sure yet. So for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and wire this bow in up here. Oh, I can already tell I like it. Now, when I say wire it in, I'm wiring it to the metal frame itself in the wreath. So you want to make sure that you leave yourself plenty of length on wire or pipe cleaner, zip tie, whatever you're using, so that you can wire in your bow nice and tight. Because if they decide, if someone's going to use this, let's say someone puts this on an outdoor door, you want to make sure that it's going to withhold the wind, and I'll show you another secret that I do for pieces that go outside. I've made several wreaths for people that have put them on the outside of their front door, or on their side of their home, and you just want to make sure that they're very, very, very secure. This wreath base is sliding, making noise. Okay, so now I have secured this, all right? And what I'm going to go ahead and do at this point, I'm going to take these loops, and I'm actually going to take an evergreen piece, and I'm putting it through the base in the back of the loop, and I'm securing it. So that loop is not going to go anywhere. That loop is going to stay right where it is, and nobody would ever know that you've done that. But you're tucking it in place. Like I said, this one I know is going inside, but I just want to be able to share that little trick or tip with you, so that if you made one for someone or yourself that you want to put outside, that's a great way to secure the wreath, the ribbon, to know that it's going to stay. And it keeps the loops in place where you want them, and it keeps them nice and wide. Now, I'm not worrying about these tails right now, okay? I'm just going to let those be for the time being. You could, if you wanted to, you could roll them up and just get them out of the way. Sometimes I do that on my designs. I just tuck them underneath here so that they're not in my way. You just don't want to forget about them. I've done designs where I've put things and then I've been like, oh, I forgot I had those tails. So you don't want to do that. Also, when you make it nice and tight, you really have a good opportunity to pull out your bow and fluff it. Get it nice and full. And then if you're using good ribbon, which I highly recommend, it has some body to it, and you could actually curve. You take it between your two fingers and you run your finger down it. It helps you curve the ends. I'm not going to play with this too much because we're going to be moving it around and changing it up and adding to it, but that's to get us started, okay? So we have our bow there, just for the time being. I have a hard time not playing with it. Okay, so now we have these picks that we want to put in. I'm going to try to lay out the design of our wreath, because I'm still not quite sure where we're going with things. I do have a sign that I've made that's drying right now, so I can't put that in. That's going to go down here in the bottom. Thinking maybe I'll put that one up at the top. And these are heavy, so I have to make sure that I really secure these well. I'm thinking since that gingerbread is up there, and we're going to have a sign over here, Thinking I might put him somewhere down in this area. I just want to make sure that he really shows up because he's awfully cute. I'm going to try to wrap him right now and just see if he stays. It's like I said, unfortunately these ornaments are kind of heavy. Okay, remember this is just temporary. I haven't secured them in yet. I've got this mixer, which I really don't want the top showing, so I've got to figure a way to hide that. And what I'm thinking is I might do something like that. Hoping that you can pick that up. It's hard to tell on camera. And then I have one cookie here that I might string. And this is why I kept the ribbons on, because it does make it easier to wrap around the greens. Of course we're gonna end up hiding the ribbon, the ornament ribbon, when all is said and done. It's not gonna show. I'm really liking the way that we have the different branches. The ficus branch. Now I have 2 of these. So I want to think about how I'm going to put these on. That looks cute up there. I like that. Maybe if I put that in there. And then, like I said, I'll have to find another way to secure the bottom. That's what's great about working with these evergreen. You really can use them to help you secure your pieces, as I'm doing here. Okay, so I've got that so far. Sure that you guys can see it. And then I have these little ornaments, which I thought were super sweet. I also have this cup of coffee. Now this one and this one are both glass, so I'm really going to have to make sure that I have these secured quite well. Yeah. I really like that down here. And again, I think I'm going to put the evergreen the branch right through the arm of the coffee. I'm still going to need to secure it from underneath. But I'm liking that so far. Now I have a candy cane. I have this one here, and of course this is the opposite color. So I'm thinking maybe I'll put that up here. I missed taking the price tag off of this one. And then I am going to incorporate more ribbon. I bought these, which I really love. I'd love to be able to use these. I just don't know if they're I just think they're so much fun. I just don't know if it's the right color red. I'm gonna have to see. So, notice I have 3 here, and I'm really wanting, just don't know how. I would like that there, but that's going to be tough. What I might end up doing, I might end up taking the hook out and putting a dowel, like a skewer, and putting that up here, because I really like the three together. I think that's what I might end up doing. I like the look of the three together. So I have my dowels. Not quite sure how a dowel is going to go into this. It might not work. Oh, it is going in. It's like clay. That's why doing a project like this is really trial and error. You just never know. I'm just afraid I don't want to split that open. So far it's working. So I'm just pushing the little, I call it a dowel, but it's really just a skewer that I get a pack at Walmart. I use them in a lot of my pieces. I just want to make sure that I have it up in enough. Now, if the bottom was going to show, I'd be very careful doing this, but I know that I'm going to have some of the bottom covered, so if it was to crack, or I could work something else out. Okay, that's in there really secure because I'm pulling on it quite a bit and it's not moving. So now what I want to do is I want to figure out how long I want my skewer to be. That's right where I want it. I'm going to put a little dab, because this is heavy. Grab my glue gun. I'm going to put a little dab of glue on the base of it and let that dry, and then I'm going to go back to that in a little bit. I want to make sure that it's good and dry. So now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to secure all of the ornaments really well, and then I will come back to you when we're ready to go to next steps. Okay, one thing I wanted to show you, I had mentioned that I was using these bagels. Got these at Hobby Lobby. I've taken 2 skewers and I poked them right through the styrofoam, hot glued them, let it cool, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert those 2 skewers down in here, in through the wreath, and then I'm going to wrap in the back. I'm going to wrap them with evergreens and I'm going to glue it. I have 2 more. Not quite sure where I'm going to put the other 2. I think I'm going to put one up here and then maybe nuzzle one maybe over in here, or maybe up in here. I'm not quite sure yet. But I just wanted to take a minute to show you how to attach. So you're just taking the product, whatever it may be, and you've got your skewer. I usually start with the pointed end and I poke it in, and then when I start to make a hole and I've got enough of a hole going, I flip it around and I stick the fatter end in and I make a bigger hole, and then I put a shot of hot glue, and then I put these in and I let it cool. Okay? Okay, so I'm about ready to put another one of these bagels in, and I'm going to put it up here in the corner of the wreath, and I thought you might like to see what I'm actually going to do. I'm grabbing the evergreen, I'm pushing this down and I'm twisting it around. What I'm trying to do is get one from underneath, so that I want to make the bagel look like it's sitting down in this wreath stand. I don't typically use this. I typically work on my easel, but I want it to be able to have a good view for you guys. So at this point I'm just wrapping it, and then I'm going to actually snuggle it down in like that. I come through here and I can see the back. And I'm just finding a couple of loose greens, and I'm wrapping it really, really well, and then I'm going to take some glue and I'm going to hot glue it as well up into that area. And I'm not going to cut it yet. I'm going to wait and see. This one isn't put in yet. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait till it dries. Yeah, I like that there a lot. So now I'm just going to take the hot glue from behind and put a couple shots and let it dry before I move it around too much. Okay? Here's another tip that I want to share with you. This ornament, I'm having trouble because it's a dough ornament. It's really heavy. So I'm taking this stem and I'm actually going to zip tie this ornament to this stem. I'm going to move it up just a little bit. I've got lots of green here, so it's got extra to grab to. And I'm going to zip tie this. Again, can be tricky when you only have one hand. You're holding it with one and then but you get kind of used to it after a while. As long as you start it, you can catch it with your finger. And just get it as tight as you can. Okay, so now I have this zip tied to this stem. This bottom portion's not going to show. And I have a nice stem, lots of greenery, that I'm going to hot glue into place. So you want to make sure that you snip off this end here. And I'm going to put this right in here. Put the spoon up like that. Okay? And this is going to be nice and secure because now I not only have just greenery, but I also have that zip tie holding it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this into place. So all of these pieces in here are very secure, and I suggest that you do that you tug on all of your embellishments to make sure that you have them in the wreath good and tight. I went ahead and I unrolled one side. Whoops, I got caught on my ring. I unrolled one side of my ribbon, and if you notice, I am mimicking the ribbon candy that is on the spoons. So now I'm going to do the same on this side. However, I don't want to have them, you could, if this is your preference, you could have them ideally, match in the same exact spot. I like to do it a little bit different, and I want this big green to actually show. So I'm going to put this one in just a little bit lower than where the other one meets. And I'm just going to try to find the green. I'm hoping you can see it. You probably can't, but I'm just wrapping it, taking one of those evergreen pieces, just like a pipe cleaner, and I'm wrapping it around and I'm fluffing it. And you don't want these to be tight. You want them to look really loose and airy. Okay, so that's what we have there so far. And we have this that's going to come up. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this end yet. I haven't figured that out yet. So I think I might. I just start playing with it. I just start tucking it in different areas. I really love it against the green. It's so pretty. And if I dovetail the ends like I've dovetailed the other ends, and how you do that is you just take your ribbon, you fold it in half, end to end, and then you just cut from the corner to the center, and you get a dovetail. I think I'm going to fold that here. And the great thing about doing this is if you don't like it once you do it, you can always just pull it out. And what I typically do is I pull some of the greens around it. So again, like I said at the very beginning, I want it to look a little bit more natural. I don't want it to look too set. It's hard because I'm looking at the side now. I'm not looking straight on, and I'm used to working straight on with my pieces. But that's where we're headed. That's what we have so far. Now what I'm going to do is start to branch off and start to work on the other side. I've already decided that I need to add more in the back. So I'm going to gather a couple of larger pieces of greens and add those in as well. So now we are ready to move on to our next step. I've added a couple of different ornaments in here. Like I said, I opened up some of the ribbons. I added another bagel. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is add some of this glittery berry stem. Make sure that I can separate it out because I don't want to have it too heavy. So what I might do is actually cut it here so that I can have an individual stem. And I'm going to put some in here. See how that just brings it to life? I'm going to put a on that. I'm going to put it right in here, and notice I chose this spot because of the dark ficus leaves, so it really pops against the dark color. I think I want to add some more in here. I talked a little bit about how I always add some greens to my bow. I'm not done with the bow yet, but I'm just wondering if I want to add. I love that, so I'm going to keep that in there. And then I'm just going to add some glue here to catch it. I want to make sure I don't have too much of this, so I want to make sure that I keep enough to put a few pieces all the way around. I think I'm going to put a piece over in here. I like that a lot coming out of the bagel. I think in that spot I'm going to put a little bit of a ficus stem, again, just so I'll have those leaves popping out in color contrast against the other. I hope you're picking that up on camera. It is so pretty. It looks so good. I'm really, really happy with the way it's coming out. They are going to be so surprised. So I'm just going to finish up with these, going all the way around, continuing to add more to the wreath. So we've made some more progress. If you can tell, it's a slice of cake that I got as an ornament last year. I've put that in. I've put some more of this glittered holly, and now I'm ready to add in. I've also added in boxwood, and now I'm ready to add in some more ribbon. I was just going to show you how to do that. If you've watched any of my other videos, you've seen this trick, but I'm just going to make some loops. I know that I want some of this blue cascading down, so I'm going to just simply take the ribbon, have a tail, decide how long you want your tail, pinch it, and I'm going to use a pipe cleaner for this, green, because it's not even going to show in the wreath. And then you just fold it forward, fold your flap forward, twist this, And I'm going to leave a little bit more length here so that I can grab on to an evergreen. And then I'm simply just going to snip this shorter in the back. Now if I wanted 2 tails, maybe I'll just check that so that I can show you. If you decide that maybe you want 2 tails, which I could do here. Yeah, I think I kind of like that. That looks pretty. I'd have the bow here and then that tail there and another tail down here. So I'm actually going to cut this one a little bit longer. Okay, and I am just going to secure this. This time I'm actually wrapping the pipe cleaner around the evergreen. And then folding that back into itself. And just like I showed you how I lodged the other ones, I'm going to secure this in a final loop as well. And then I'm going to bring this one down here to a dovetail. And I'm going to bring this one down here to a dovetail. So I want to just right now take the time to dovetail both of these. Sometimes if I don't stop and do it, I have a tendency to forget. I'll be ready to wrap up my piece to take to my client, and whoops, I forgot to dovetail that. So we've got that one in there. And if I wanted to, I could secure that. But these branches are great. These branches really work to secure pieces. And then I'm going to bring this one down in here. And I want this one to trail in behind. I want this one to be a little bit longer, so I'm securing this one on the side here. And again, I'm just mimicking the ribbon candy. Okay? And I've added, I also added some green holly. I stuck a few of those pieces in. I've added some more pieces on the outside, and now I'm just kind of working my way around the wreath. Next is to add some ornaments and the sign. Now we are ready for the next steps, and that's actually going to be to attach the sign. What I've done is I've poked a hole, again just using my skewer, in each corner of the sign. I printed out their logo. I put it on heavy, real heavy cardboard, and I Mod Podged the sign, and that has had a chance to dry. And now what I'm going to do is just secure it down into this area at the base of the wreath. So I've gone ahead and I've got my pipe cleaners, and I'm really at this point, I want to try to pull this over into this area and make it as tight as possible. What I'm going to do is just get it started, and then I'll go ahead afterwards and tighten it up. And they're not even going to see, you're not even going to see these pipe cleaners, because I'm going to hide them with the evergreen when I'm done. I'm going to cover it right up with evergreen. I think I want to put that one in here. That was the whole point of using the green, was so that it wouldn't show. I'm going to bring this up around once I wrap this in the back. So I'm grabbing another piece of evergreen, and I'm just going to twist this. Now, just for the sake of the video, I'm not going to take time right now to tuck all the ends in, but when I go in afterwards, I'm gonna just clean that up. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my hot glue gun and I'm going to cover all of those points. I'm also gonna have ribbon here hanging down, so I'm not worried about that one. Got my hot glue ready to go. So I'm taking a little bit of hot glue on that one. And I'm covering. Try to pull some of these up. At this point, I'm also going to take some of this holly that I have and some of the ficus leaves, and I'm going to continue to work around the sign, just kind of filling it in here or there. Okay, so I'll come back to you in a few minutes once I've done that. So picking up where we left off, you can see I've placed the sign in. I also made a bow, put the bow in place. I have some cascading ribbons, and I'm going to continue to fill in. Next step, what I'm doing is I'm starting to put in some ribbon loops. Now this is just my way, rather than, I feel like I save ribbon when I do this. Some of the tails and some of the ribbons that I make, I leave a little bit longer. I plan to put this one over here and kind of cascade the ribbon down on the side. But others, all I do is just cut short little loops, put pipe cleaners, and what I'm going to choose to do is just wedge them in here or there to give the illusion that the ribbon flows all the way around, but in actuality, I'm actually not using as much ribbon. I'm also going to do that with the red. I want a few more pops of red here or there to really make the wreath look extremely full. Back up in here, I'm going to put some, and then I'm going to carry it down around. But right here I have it's like I have a great big burst, and now I just want to have little peek outs here and there of this red ribbon. Now you notice this ribbon rolls up really, really well. So I'm going to be putting that over in this area here. So we'll glue that in. And then I'm going to take this string, here, make sure you can see that, right here, and I'm going to roll it up. I've cut it at an angle on the bottom, so if it comes unrolled, it's still got a nice cut to it. And I'm just rolling it up. The tighter the better that you can roll it, and you'll see why in a moment. Make sure that that's dry. And then I'm just going to pull that down, and I'm going to make a ribbon tendril. Now sometimes I want to keep it like that. I would even glue it. I want to keep it in that round shape. So I would actually even glue this to that holly leaf right there so that it would keep its round shape. For right now that this is dry, so I was fighting against that. Make sure that's really in there. I'm going to wrap it as well. Make sure it's really tight. In there. Glue's still hot. And I'll fix all these loops after. Now what I'm going to do is I'm really going to try to get this as tight as possible when I roll it up. And that's why I said earlier in the video that the better ribbon you buy, see how full that makes your piece look? And I'm just going to go ahead, and if I can't catch it, what I will do is just glue it. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of glue, and I try to put it in a unconspicuous spot so that no one will see it when it's drying. When it's dried, it's going to be hidden. Press on that good. There we go. Now we have that beautiful ribbon tendril, and it's totally filled out this area of the wreath. So now I'm just going to continue to work that whole process out, and I'll come back once I've tucked in. Remember, some are just short, some are just a loop, and then others I've left a little bit longer tail. And let's say that I did put a loop in here, just the loop, and I stick it in and I say, oh, I wish I had. You can always just add another piece of ribbon, straight piece, and curl it up or just make a tail out of it. Okay, I'll be back once I fill this out some more with the ribbon bunches. As you can see, I've gone ahead and I've added in all those extra ribbon pieces. I've also added in some more greenery. I've made sure that there's no open spots. One really big tip is to hang it on a door or on the wall and walk on either side of it to make sure that you don't have any open spots. One thing I do want to talk to you is the back of the piece. Now, I purposely had not cut these yet, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this now and show you how I typically finish off the back of a piece. You want to make sure that you don't have any long protruding stems. There's another one over here. Okay, now what you want to do at this point, I got one more up here, is you want to just take your extra greens and you want to wrap them around and tuck them in over that skewer. And then what I go ahead and do is just apply a little bit of glue. But you want your back to look finished and complete. So I'm going to do the same with this. I've got another piece here. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the back. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button as well as the little bell so the next time that we publish new material, new content, you'll be sure to get it. I hope you've learned a lot today, and I look forward to the next time when we can get creative together.